The following video is an excerpt of the latest episode of our podcast, Spatial Audio Monthly. In this episode, Sam Hocking and I talk about what I have been up to lately, in particular with respect to generative artificial intelligence. I'm going to leave a link to the episode in the description below. As part of our discussion, we talked about Suno.ai, a generative artificial intelligence tool that can create entire songs out of text prompts. And in order to demonstrate its capabilities, I showed and played an example in 4 different variations. Now, I felt this might be interesting to some of my viewers on this channel as well, so here we go. The Digital Dreamer song on Suno.ai. What we thought that we would do is I did a couple of tests, and this really kind of happened as a result because I wanted to figure out what is possible in music production and generative music production. And there is one model that essentially made a lot of noise the last couple of months, and that is Suno. And somebody on our Discord server pointed out that Suno is Hindi for listen, right? So that's actually interesting. So it is a generative AI tool that is capable of producing entire songs, and they just came out with a new model this week, really. I mean, there was an alpha version that I used 2 weeks before, but it was officially released this week. And I tried to play around with that. And the first thing that I tried to do is I tried to ask it to produce a song for our students, so the digital media students. And I kind of asked it to essentially create something that is uplifting and kind of gives a good vibe. And let's have a listen on how that actually ended up sounding. So the first thing that I did is I kind of asked it to create something that is an electronic upbeat pop. So let's just have a brief listen how that sounds.
With the digital dreamers, we're tech savvy and cool, creating new worlds with every single tool. From coding to design, we're breaking the mold. Digital media students, watch us take hold. In the lab, subjects aware, creativity thrives. We're mastering the art of digital lives. We bring stories to life with visuals so sweet. Digital media students, we can't be beat. We're the future creators, want to innovate. With digital dreamers, we never hesitate. From video to animation, we do it all. Digital media students, we stand tall. We're the future creators, want to innovate. With digital dreamers, we never hesitate. From video to animation, we do it all. Digital media students, we stand tall. Digital media students, we stand tall.
So that is actually quite remarkable if you think of it. That was completely, I mean, there are a couple of things that are actually even more remarkable because it figured out what we actually do, right? So I just gave it the prompt that there should be digital media students at Drexel University. It knew that essentially those are animation students. So it was actually quite interesting. And it created everything from scratch. And you know, kind of one of the things that we have been talking about is that essentially has the potential to wipe out an entire kind of industry. There are a lot of people doing music for corporate events, for example, right? This is perfectly fine for a corporate event. If you think kind of some company is doing an event and the CEO comes in and needs kind of an upbeat sound to do that, that is perfectly fine. Now there's still a couple of things that I think are that need to be improved. It does sound a little artificial. There were a lot of artifacts in there, and we are going to talk about that a little later. But I think it is remarkable what these models are already able to do.
I mean, in the context of, I don't know, you could say on-hold music on a phone, it wouldn't actually matter.
Yeah.
That quality, that would be perfectly acceptable. And
Yeah.
where it comes in is that
Right. This
traditionally
sounds,
that would have been a music artist creating that song.
This sounds actually perfectly fine on a phone, for example, or on a laptop. You know, kind of there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's only once you get into a hi-fi kind of capable equipment that you start to realize that there's certain things that don't sound right. But it is actually quite interesting. And the interesting thing is sort of the flexibility. So I kind of sent it to our faculty, and the first thing that they said is this is going to be the kind of anthem of our senior show this year. But then essentially kind of they started to challenge me, and the first challenge was, can you rework that song to be like a musical performance of the musical Hamilton? And I kind of asked Suno to do that. And I'm not going to play the entire thing, but just so that you give some idea. And that was the result. It's essentially the same text, but kind of as a musical performance.
We're the digital dreamers, we're tech savvy and cool, creating new worlds with every single tool. From coding to design, we're breaking the mold. Digital media students watch us take hold. In the labs of Drexel, where creativity thrives, we're mastering the art of digital lives. We bring stories to life with visuals so sweet. Digital media students, we can't be beat. We're the future creators, the ones who innovate. We're the digital dreamers, we never hesitate. From video to animation, we do it all. The digital media students, we stand tall.
Now I'm stopping here because the audio essentially kind of Suno didn't know how to end this song. This was actually quite interesting. So it would kind of, and I guess that's something that you quite often see in musical performances, that they sort of keep on kind of the music going in order to kind of make sure that the story kind of flows, and sort of Suno didn't know how to kind of end that, so he continued doing that and then restarted the thing. But it's sort of interesting. And then kind of people started to really kind of challenge me, and then I said, well, that's fine. So let's do something in the style of the song Friday. And I have no clue what the song Friday is. I don't know. Some people told me that they've had the feeling that was always generated by artificial intelligence. I don't even know if that is close to that, but that's essentially what Suno came up with. Digital dreamers in the style of the song Friday. Now, there's one thing I would like you to pay attention there, because that is something that I think I'd like to kind of talk a little bit more about. That when it gets to the term creativity, it's starting to have issues because it can't fit the line into one kind of into a consistent kind of line to be essentially that fits the music. So let's just have a listen. And quite honestly, I think that's actually the best version.
We're the digital dreamers, we're tech savvy and cool, creating new worlds with every single tool. From coding to design, we're breaking the mold. Digital media students, watch us take hold. In the labs of Drexel, where creativity thrives, we're mastering the art of digital lives. We bring stories to life with visuals so sweet. Digital media students, we can't be beat. We're the future creators, the ones who innovate. We're the digital dreamers, we never hesitate. From video to animation, we do it all. Digital media students, we stand tall.
So as you heard, it had issues with the term creativity because it couldn't fit that in. So when you're working with a tool like that, one of the things that you would have to do is you would have to go in and kind of give it a human touch. So there's certain things that work, there's certain things that don't work. I think in that particular example, kind of the overall arrangement and everything actually sounded pretty nice. I would probably kind of want to do additional things. So what you would normally do is you would take that and kind of try to take that to the next level. So the way I see these artificial intelligence tools right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, is more as a tool to get inspiration of what to do, right? So I can take that. I can actually kind of do, and we're going to do that a little bit later, I can do a stem separation, and then I can turn that into MIDI, and then essentially I can produce on top of that. I can maybe even hire a singer to kind of sing that in real life and do it in a way that kind of brings the term creativity into the song better, and kind of also maybe kind of turn that into something to kind of stay with our theme here, to turn that into something that is Dolby Atmos capable, or that is spatial. But for that was actually a question that we had on our Discord, right? Do I have the stems? And the answer is no, I don't, because of the way these models create the music. There's no way to access the stems. So the only way to really do that is through stem separation, and then essentially trying to build on top of that.
Yeah, but there was you could get an instrumental and a non-instrumental, but
you can create an instrumental version only, but the problem really is, and I'm honestly not sure if that has to do with the way the model works, is that it will always generate something new. So you cannot. So one thing that you can't do is So one thing that you can do, you can keep the text, right? So you can do a remix and keep the text. But one thing that you can't do, for example, you can't go in here and say, well, everything is perfect. Just kind of make sure that the term creativity kind of flows better.
It's not iterative like
right. So you can't do that
like a traditional AI chat or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So you can't do that. I personally think that is actually really difficult to do. So I don't foresee that to happen in the near future. So one of the things that people will need to learn is to take these things as what they are, as inspirations that you build on. Kind of creating these took me 5 minutes, and then it probably takes me about a day to turn everything into usable MIDI. And from there, I can then essentially kind of build on. And I think that's the way I like to see, I like to look at those. So you need to understand what works, what doesn't work, where can I add, what do I have to do in order to change things, what are the things that I need to adjust. And that requires a human artist. That's one of the things that I'm currently trying to say, everybody. Artists are not going to disappear because we need people who can actually interpret that. Because in a world where everybody has access to that tool and can create anything like that in seconds, you need to stand out, and the only way to stand out is to be really good at your craft and kind of know exactly where the artificial intelligence did wrong and how to correct it.
Right? So I faced a similar issue on the stem separation side, in that sometimes, especially on older music where the fidelity is lower. Say you had a cowbell that was repeating a set pattern all the way through the song, for instance, but due to the old nature of the recording, the AI is not aware that the cowbell is so faint that it's kind of disappeared, and so it basically doesn't grab hold of it, it doesn't separate it. So that's part of what I sometimes have to do, is I'll sample a good cowbell that does exist earlier in the track or later in the track. And then I have to program like a MIDI trigger over the top and recreate that cowbell where it should be, so that I then get a full stem, because otherwise I'd have a patchy stem where the cowbell might exist, in certain moments of the track, but not others. That's coming back. As much as it's solving a problem, sometimes it's actually generating a problem as well. You're still going to have a human brain to decide, that cowbell exists there, but there's no way the AI will ever know that, because well, it probably will do eventually, but it can't possibly know that because it can't actually hear it, because it doesn't exist in the audio, because the audio was a poor quality.
Exactly. So kind of, and kind of, even if it knows that, there will be other things that it doesn't know. So it's sort of a continuous thing. And that essentially means that the people who will work in that field in the future will have much more refined skills and knowledge about those things. So it's the way I kind of always framed it is and kind of. It's a little bit ironic because I have a YouTube channel, but the way I usually frame that is that kind of watching a YouTube video is no longer enough. You actually have to have a real understanding of what you're doing. But sort of it's sort of exactly how you say. Essentially, you need to have that knowledge in order to be able to understand things that are not directly apparent in the data set that you're feeding it. Yeah, that's true. There's one additional thing that I just wanted to show because one of my faculty members challenged me to what does it sound like if you do a kind of a Viking chant. Now, I actually had to do that a couple of times because whenever I tried to convince Suno to create a Viking chant, it turned into something that sounded like Rammstein. I didn't really want to have anything industrial, but it ended up actually being quite nice. And the thing that I wanted to the reason I wanted to kind of show that here is primarily because of the way in this, how Suno worked around the creativity word problem in this particular version, which I thought was actually quite interesting, although not completely perfect. So let's have a listen to that one.
We're the digital dreamers, we're tech savvy and cool, creating new worlds with every single tool. From coding to design, we're breaking the mold. Digital media students watch us take hold. In the labs of Drexel, where creativity thrives, we're mastering the art of digital lives. We bring stories to life with visuals so sweet. Digital media students, we can't be beat. We're the future creators, the ones who innovate. We're the digital dreamers, we never hesitate. From video to animation, we do it all. Digital media students, we stand tall.
So unfortunately, that one, it cut off. So sometimes it still kind of makes these mistakes of cutting off too early or kind of starting at a weird point or kind of ending something. So that is still. So, but I found it interesting how it solved the creativity problem here by having sort of two groups of singers essentially singing that at different times. Now, it didn't come across in the best way, but I could see if you turned it into a real production and then essentially have people actually sing that, how they could actually kind of take that and turn it into something that actually sounded really interesting. This completes this little excerpt from our podcast channel. If this topic is of interest to you, I encourage you to watch the full episode. There we also talk about how to use these songs in order to inspire full traditional productions, and we even create a song for our podcast. I'll leave a link to that episode in the description below, and with that being said, see you all at the next video.